Started selling things. First I sold my phone. Nikakuja nikauza double decker toy nilikuwa nayo. Nikakuja nikauza fridge. I even remember when I was selling this fridge, my last born alikuwa ametoka usi tuko covered alikuwa ametoka usini, alikuwa amepewa dawa, na kuna dawa moja ilikuwa refrigerated. So hata nikiuza fridge ilibidi nitoe hiyo dawa.
Allow me to introduce you to Psychex, a trusted partner in mental well-being, offering tailored services for individuals and corporates alike. Remember, you can support any of these stories we continue to share by sponsoring their therapy sessions at Psychex. Psychex provides a range of therapeutic services from licensed therapists to life coaches, all conveniently accessible through a user-friendly web app, www.psychex.io.
My name is Joseph Wambua. I work with Kenya Prison Service. I am a father, and most importantly, I'm also a recovering addict. I'm brought up in a family of 4. I was the last born, middle income family. And also my parents were disciplinarians. I was able to do my primary school very well. In fact, I topped my class. That was back in 1997 when I did my class 8. And in 1998, I joined the prestigious Machako School. In Form 1, things were so good, I was performing well, Form 2 the same. However, it was in Form 3 that I had my first sip of alcohol. And this happened during the April vacation. The first feeling was euphoric. And for me to test alcohol, it was out of curiosity. I just thought that those people who were taking alcohol, life was so good to them. So I was curious to know how alcohol tastes, how one feels. And what surprised me is that because it was a weekend, the following weekend, I also drank it again. And it started becoming a trend. I've been brought up in a camp where we're living with officers, and my father was an officer, my mother was an officer. And there's this culture, officers take alcohol. So I thought alcohol was so good. And even in school, I used to see my fellow schoolmates taking alcohol. So I was so much curious about it. And I decided to have a taste of it. And mostly, let me say, it also due to peer pressure. Because in my Form 3, the company engaged with, most of them were taking alcohol. And one thing about alcohol, never lack friends to take it. And it is during my Form 3 that I realized it was even affecting my studies, because let me say, from the first time I started taking alcohol, there was that progression of wanting to take more alcohol. And I was not in a position to sense until it even led to disciplinary cases in school, whereby I was sneaking out of school. My parents were being called, they were suspended. And to me, and the company that I kept, it was not a big deal. Being in a boarding school, we were manipulative, and we also had to get ways to get this alcohol. So it meant most of the time we even got in the wrong side of the law, because you've sneaked to go and buy alcohol. Sometimes you can deal with the subordinate staff, and then you give them a tip, and then they bring you the alcohol. We used always so that we could get alcohol. So sometimes you could even pretend you are sick so that you're going home, you're taken to hospital. And during those times there were no phones. So you had to physically do something to get it. And it used to work. It used to work. We gave it our all. It is in Form 4 whereby I realized that I was taking more alcohol compared to the time I started drinking the first sip of alcohol. And this is very important, the progression. The desire to take more alcohol, irrespective of the circumstances you are in. And I remember very well during times where my parents were called to school because of my drinking and my gross misconduct. But what was coming to my mind was the next drink. Actually, my principal then, Mr. Mackenzie, was so sad about me because he was talking about you can perform so well if you put your efforts into concentration. However, you see, alcohol was taking the best part of me. And in Form 4, I was able to perform well. I scored a B+ despite the numerous disciplinary cases. So it was no longer a secret that I was drinking. So my parents knew that I was drinking. And you see, this trend goes up to when you've closed school, you've gone for holidays. You'll find yourself drinking even during the holidays. And being from a disciplinarian's parents, they didn't take it lightly because they didn't see how the way they are strict, they can be drinking in their midst, and I'm still in school. So this led at least to having a rough time with my parents, though they were very supportive, giving me good advice of how I can stop drinking, because they knew that I had a great future. Now, you see, you've cleared Form 4, you now have all the time, you have friends. This led to my drinking levels increasing. There's that feeling that you're now over 18, and I thought that I could drink responsibly. I had friends who we used to drink with, so you find yourself in a position whereby your environment suits you for your drinking. Why? Because you see, the parents don't want me to drink, but I have friends. So that was the best company that I had at that moment, though I didn't know that I had a problem with drinking. My also tolerance levels increased. Every time I drank, nikunywa tu chupa moja hivi, I wanted more. So when I started drinking, I couldn't stop, no matter how much I wanted. So it's either I didn't have money, pesa ishe, or I black out. This was a concern, though nobody thought I had a problem with drinking. I also never thought that I had a problem with drinking. And every time I'm being told you're drinking too much, I had denial. I thought that I could drink responsibly. In 2003, I joined Ejay to do Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering as a JAB student, Joint Admission Board student. And there was a lot of hope in the family. This was good news to the family because they believed that in 5 years' time, they could be having an engineer in the house. When I joined campus in 2003, I was able to get the HELB loan. And my parents really supported me. And, I was not working. So I was a student. I'm the last born in my family. The others are working. So I had every reason to be given money, saying that we're going for a trip, this amount is not enough. Money was not the biggest problem to me. I used to get good cash. Getting good cash and all their free time and their friends, my drinking levels also increased, even compared to the time that I had finished my Form 4. One thing which was certain is that also my tolerance levels increased. And during my first year in university, I was able to pass all the units without getting a supplementary. But in second year, it reached a point I could not do without alcohol. So I had to do what we call relief drinking in the morning. Lazima nitoe lock so that I could go to class. But the problem also arose because once I start drinking, I can't stop. So the moment I go for the eye opener, I take a tot because I was taking spirits, hard liquor. So you can imagine you have 200 shillings extra. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Because I remember a box of one of the sachets I used to buy was around 210. So if I had even 500 shillings, I had a box, and that was good for me. I could party. So basing on the amount of how much alcohol was being sold and the amount of money I was being funded by my family, I had enough to drink. In fact, more than enough to drink. Because if my father could give me money, my mother the same, my brothers and my sister. So I had enough to drink. But they were not giving me money to drink. They were giving me money to sustain my education. The biggest problem was that once I take that first sip of alcohol, I wanted more. So unapiga moja unasema acha niongezee moja niende. Eventually you not go to class. So basically the results were as expected. You're not going to class well, and so definitely the performance will be poor. So during my second year, out of 16 units, I was able to pass only 10. And I was put on external rewind whereby nitakuwa nafanya nikitoka home nikuje nifanye paper during those semesters. And it is also important to note, when I realized that I'd been given an external rewind, I didn't tell my father. I went back to school like I was going for third year. And I was given fees to go and pay, which I didn't pay. And you see, my father thought I'm a grown-up. So hakuwa anashughulika na receipts. You get, eh? And unfortunately, he came later to realize. Na wakakuja campus with my brother, and when they realized I'm on external rewind, they told me, we need to go home. Because you're not doing nothing. In school, you're just waiting for the papers. It was a sad moment for me. Actually, an embarrassing moment. Because he has realized the school fees he had given you didn't pay. You're not supposed to be in school, you're supposed to be on external rewind. A full academic year, doing nothing. It was something my father had really thought about it, and through his own wisdom, he decided that I need to start another course. So I started a CPA course at KCA University, so that at least I can be busy. And during those times, nikienda kufanya exam, at least I'm engaged. Eh? Unfortunately, the same thing happened. At that time, we were living in Ruiru. So I'm given fair money for lunch. You see how my parents are supportive. But once nimetoka home, nitaenda nitoe lock, ndo niende shule. So you see, even at this moment, I have not realized that something is wrong with me. I'm on external ruin because of poor performance. Here's another chance I've been given to do this course so that at least, you see, I believe my father was trying to self-develop me. When it came time to do the exam for JKUAT, I did. The 4 units and the 2 units. And the surprising part is that I didn't do the CPA exams. Why? Because Unaona ile unatumananga bwendo unaangalia center yangu ni gani. The last minute I thought my center was KCA where I was supposed to do my exams. But it was NYS, the other side. So as usual nilikuwa nimekunywa usiku. Nimetoka nimechelewa kidogo na rakisha kwenda Pipeni nikapata center yangu sio hiyo. Nikampa center yangu ni NYS. You can now see alcohol comes first, other things comes later. And that's how I started losing my opportunities, because even in the JCOT exams, I was able to pass 4 units and I failed 2 units. Again, and that meant I had to be discontinued from the university education. That was a bitter pill for me to swallow. That really hit me hard. And actually, I didn't know how to tell my father that I'd been discontinued. I just called my sister and told him things are not right. Now, you see, at this point, I don't want the same scenario that happened that they came to school and realized that was an external rewind. So, and I was waiting for these results. So when I called him, I told him, nimepita 4 units, nimeamka 2 units. Now I'm discontinued from the university. He actually cried. She cried on the phone. And when my father noted that I'd also been discontinued, it also didn't go well with him. It was a low moment for me, a very, very low moment. So you find that even despite my drinking, I could still feel it. I even wrote an appeal letter, but it didn't go through. Now my father, through his own wisdom again, realized, okay, alcohol is becoming too much for me. We are Africans and we have cultures. It was even thought that somebody bewitched me so that I could not excel in my education. And to be honest, it even brought wrangles between those people who are believed to have bewitched me and our family. The moment I was told that, I believed, and you see, it even propagated my drinking. Oh, nimerogwa, nikafunguli. So I even had another reason for drinking. One of my relatives, it was so hard for being from a religious family. It was so hard to come with that notion about bewitching, but one of my relatives took me to a witch doctor so that he can get to know what is the problem. And fate has it. You see, they always have something to say. Wachawi, they always have something to say. And he even named that family and told us so and so. Amekuroga ndo siendele. I used my own ways to tell my father. Kwambe, do you know what? Iko hivi na nimerogwa. Na watu fulani. Though they didn't believe in such things. But you see, it's also a point. Uliendaje nilipelekwa na one, let me not say uncle or auntie, but one of my relatives. He even called him. Do you know something funny? Wala watu wanakupea mpaka jina. You get? Wanakupea mpaka jina. So I realized, my father was so sad with that. Though alikuwa anakata kubelieve juu wako ana believe story ya witch doctor, hata my mother, they don't believe in such things. But to see, they've been cornered, unamboikoi. They even called the relative, wakambe, yes, they named that family. And you see, in terms of failure, we come to you find yourself in a position, you're between a rock and a hard place. What is happening to my son? The closeness that these two families had, now there was a boundary. Na ukapata pia mimi sasa niko na uchungu nao. Sana Juliza, these are people I've known since childhood. Why should they do this to me? My father worked with Kenya Prison Service, and then there was an announced recruitment. And he also believed that the 9 months that I'll be going for training, I will not be in a position to get alcohol. You see, during their times, hizi vitu nika hazikuwa, unaona? And then they didn't believe you have an alcohol problem. They normally believe you're indisciplined, you have gross misconduct, you're going on with the wrong company. No one thought that alcoholism is more of a disease than a problem. When I joined the 9 months initial training course for Kenya Prison Service, during the first few days it was a bit hard for me. Very, very hard. Because you're not in a position to get alcohol. You don't even think about it. You will not get it. So I had withdrawal symptoms. And you see, I had to be very careful because if they realize there's something weird with you, you're going to lose the job. I remember during the medical, I was really afraid because bado nilikuwa na sweat sana, unaona? Sengine niko na tremors. But naweza sema what really helped me ni the physical workouts that you normally have. When you wake up at around 3, you go and run. That really helped me a lot to stabilize. And I stayed clean for 9 months. Clean for 9 months. And this is very important, let me say. When we passed out, the last day of the passing out parade, now you're an officer. There are no restrictions. What comes to my mind, they have to have a party. So the following day we were released. I just dropped my box home and went to party. I had what we call binge drinking. I drank Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I came back home on Monday. That only means it's only because I didn't have the opportunity to get the alcohol, that is why I didn't drink. I was posted to Nairobi West Prison, and it took around less than 2 weeks for them to realize there's a new officer who's been posted to this station and is drinking too much. However, I had the notion of going back to school. My father is there, has a lot of hope on me that I have the potential to do well in class. And we had a discussion. And he decided that he will pay a parallel program for me. I remember very well, he even called my brothers. But now I can understand at this point why they refused. And they told me for that point blank, are you still paying for Wambua this course? He's still drinking too much. He's still drinking too much. He should stop the drinking and then go back to class. And at this point, deep down in my mind, I said, I am going to achieve. Deep inside me, I had that. Deep inside me, I wanted to perform. Deep inside me, I knew I had the potential. Deep inside me, I was asking myself, what is wrong with me? But to implement was a problem. So it was, okay, I will stop drinking and I will be going to class. At this point, I had a relationship and I was blessed with a son, and I thought this will be a driving force for me to perform. I even made local arrangements with my boss, whereby I'll be working at night and going to class during daytime. So you see, I had the determination. And I was even not paying the fees. My father was doing that. But guess what? The same problem again. Now, this is, we call it insanity. Doing similar mistakes over and over again and expecting different results. So it even raised a concern because you're going to school sober, you're coming home drunk, and then you go to work drunk. So one of my brothers came and realized that I'm not attending classes, although I performed well in my first year. He even saw the dean of students, and the dean of students raised a concern. Nowadays, He's a sharp student, but you're realizing it's like he's coming to class drunk. You get? So my brother raised the concern with me and told me, hey, I have a concern, I want us to talk. What are you doing about your drinking? And that is the conversation that was still in the family. And there's even the part of irresponsibility in the house, because even if you get money, you're going to base it all in drinking. You even come home late, you even sometimes don't go to work. Actually, I was an habitual absentee in my duties. So that raised even the red flag at the job. My last conversation with my father was about alcohol, because he was complaining about me drinking. Alikuwa ametoka job poa na jioni around 8:39 nilikuwa nakunywa kwa nyumba. I had a phone call. Okay, Esther, I'm doing fine. I need some fare. He sent me 1,500. The next day, my father did not wake up to go for his duties. He passed on. I remember very well, it was around 5 a.m. in the morning when I was called by my mother and told me, you need to go home very fast. Babako anaamshwa na amki. Nobody told me that my father is dead. Jumadhangu alikuwa amekimbia ushago, mzee ndo alikuwa home. There was a domestic manager there. So I called the domestic manager and asked him, hey, excuse me, let me ask you. Mother ananiambia tuharakishe tukuje home. Father anaamshwa amki. Kwani, what is wrong? You get? Akaniambia wewe kuja hapa kuna watu Nikamuuliza kwani watu wengi hawezi mpeleka hosi. So deep down I realized I felt there's something wrong. So the moment nilifika tu home, so the first person I saw was my sister. You could read, you can read between the lines. Macho red, akaniona kakimbia, kaniaga, kaniambia it has already happened. Now I knew this is real. Nikaingizwa kwa bedroom, so I found the lifeless body of my father there. And then I realized things have to change. Everything your father did, my mother promised I will do it for you. Kama ni kusoma ndakulipia. Kama ni support ndakupea. She was also working. But you see, it's not until you really lose it that you'll feel it. I knew, despite my gross misconduct, I was very close to this man. And you see, I'm now going through another phase in life of grieving. How do I handle it? Drinking. This time it was not an excuse to drink. This time it really hit me hard. So I wanted to suppress the thoughts. And the only way I thought to evade this instead of meeting it soberly was drinking. I remember my mother paid 71,000 for my second semester, but I never attended those classes. Though I was coming from home in the morning, go to Ngara, nitoe lock, niende class, but I never attended those classes. That's how I left that class. Very disappointing. I remember my mother came to Nairobi and started crying, like, why am I doing this? But in 2011, something happened when I got my first daughter. I was not there for her to be discharged in the hospital. Alizaliwa kalo, mimi usiku nikakunywa. So hata sikuwa. So ule nenda kutoa na usi, madheno mabro wangu. I was nowhere to be seen. So they believed Nairobi is not good for me. So I was transferred from Nairobi to Embu prison. But guess what? They transferred a problem from Nairobi to Embu. It took me a very short period of time to get the right people for me to drink with. I knew the joints that I could go. I had plugs. I did have a problem. Things even got worse for me because I developed ulcers. And it was just because of drinking. I was an inpatient and an outpatient because of the same problem, which is ulcers. And I remember very well the doctors were saying, we are tatoboa. Because how can you be admitted in a span of 2 months 3 times because of the same problem? It is at this point that the idea of going to rehab was brought to face with my sister. But I denied. I said, I don't have problem with alcohol. I can control my drinking. You see, at that moment, you cannot be given good responsibilities to work because you're just knowing you're going to come to oil drunk. And you see also there's this aspect of stigmatization because of your drinking. Now, you find that when you mlevi, when you've son, when you mlevi, now you see you are labeled. Hata uko mahali mko meeting, unasema, sasa walevi wamekuja kufanya. You get? You have the content. Maybe you have the best ideas on the way forward. But the fact that you are labeled and believed to be a mlevi, so you have no role to play in the society. I remember si mara moja ama mbili nimejaribu kuraise issue which was very genuine. Unaomba ruhusa, very genuine issue. But huwezi pewa because you think you're going to drink. So sometimes I used to, mmekataa, simi nitaenda. You get? But you see, it is also punishable. Kuna punitive measures to that, so I have to suffer the consequences. But my turning point to go to my first rehab was when I remember I was discharged like today. And the following day, I was back to drinking. It happened. Hizo time zingine nilikuwa nikitoka na siku 3 ine narudi. But by this time, nilianza kuwa na ile feeling ya, do I really have a problem with drinking? Uni gangi, is this Wambua? And I remember very, very well, hiyo siku nikikunywa, niliangalia the point nimefika niko na enough is enough. Because I'd even lost friends because of drinking. I can count, I've lost more than 5 friends because of drinking. And I called my sister. Kila mlevi anakuwaga na mtu wake anaweza mwambia ukweli. Nikamwambia, you know what, mazi hapana nimefika mwisho. Kaniuliza, do you think you can give rehab a chance? Nikamwambia, yes. That was big news to the family. I even called my boss. No. Wacha tumkujie kesho. He accepted. He can see you have a problem. That's when they came, went to see one of the psychiatrists. Let me just say her name, Dr. Siango, and was recommended for rehabilitation. So I went for rehab for 3 months, Asumbi, Karen. I was really committed to my sobriety. Now, what also happened is that I lost my first family. I never knew it affected my children because I remember there was a time I drank, nikaanguka kwa mtaro. So my daughter, at that time she was around 4 years, 5 years. Up to today, she still remembers that scene. Alcohol is a robber because it robbed me. It robbed these children the father that they knew. They didn't see the image of the father. They saw the image of a drunkard in the family. Because most of the time you come home drunk, you even don't have time with your children. You find that uko kwa nyumba, lakini mtoto anaitisha mama yake pesa ya pencil. Pesa ya pencil ama bairo. Think about that. You're the provider, but because most of the time you're not around. I had many disciplinary offenses, which was punitive. So I was punished several times the legal way. The biggest problem is to differentiate who is a friend and acquaintances when it comes to addiction. But to me, I realized those people were there for me during good and bad times, hata wakati wa addiction. Unaona? Lakini kuna wale mnakunywa nao lakini saa zile they're not part of you. And I've also lost people because of alcohol. People very close to me, good friends. Tumwazika juu ya pombe. But you see, at that moment, you don't notice. And when I was recommended to go to rehabilitation and I had sessions, I was given life skills. That was the moment I had time to reflect about myself. And I realized it is indeed true that I had a problem with alcohol. It is indeed true. It is in the rehab that I realized about addiction. Huku nje sikujua. And I realized, okay, it's true that I am addicted. It's true that once I started drinking, I could not stop. Now that made sense while I was in rehab. And for the 3 months, I also had therapies with my family, where I realized, okay, yeah, I need to make amends. Enye nilikosea mother, enye nilikosea bro wangu, enye nilikosea father yangu. And I was even told how I can make amends with my father, though he was not there. And let me tell you, when you come to know the truth, sometimes it gives you peace. And accepting it gives you peace. Actually, let me say, I don't regret living a life of addiction. I don't. Because I realized I went through a very sad phase in my life. Very, very sad phase in my life. But it gave me a purpose in life. Here I am after rehab. My first marriage didn't work. Left with my 2 children. My mother again decides to support me. Kachukua watu ya kwe now. Nika move to Machakos. I remember very well being asked, which station unaweza prefer? I said Machakos. It came first. Nikamwambia Nairobi, nikamwambia no, Nairobi not now. Why Machakos? Nikamwambia that is where I did my form 2, form 3, form 4, and it passed so well. I want to go and do another degree program. Now I am sober. Now I am determined. I have 2 children. Okona mother. You have a damage socially, you have a damage financially. So I'd wasted my pay slip. It was not so nice. And this time round, utambia nani akulipia school fees? Utambia nani says? Watu wamekusimamia sana. I wanted also to be independent. And I really prayed to God. I need my financial independence. So what I did, I had a lot of loans in my pay slip. So I consolidated them. And I saved a good bunch of money, which came to my pay slip. And nika remain na kidogo. Hiyo kidogo nili remain on nilipa school fees. I started another degree program, Bachelor of Procurement and Supply Chain Management. At this time, I was also in a new relationship. Now my current wife. When I met this lady, Kate, I realized there's something about me. Lazima niseme kwanza ndo for everything to roll. So when I told her about my previous life and my previous relationship, nilikuwa namwambia ndo kata toboa sawa. But she came very supportive, and I realized, hapa huka ananisikiza mina and that's how we ended up marrying each other after some time. Tuko blessed say na watoto wawili. So we have 4 children. You see how God blesses you. Niko shule, niko happy marriage. Saizo hata mimi ndo nalipia watu wangu do ya chuo. And then pia kwa job wameanza kugain trust na mimi na nikapomboka place. I was a court officer at Machakos. After working for around 3 years, that time bado ndo naingia 4th year, something happened again. A friend of mine who were schooling in Machakos school, alikuwa na PTZ, akakuja Nairobi West Prison kunitafuta. Akaambia, sahi alitukanga hapa, you see, ukiulizia utaambiwa. Si akapelekwa Embu, si yako Machakos prison. Ako Machakos, kwa hivyo nikienda Machakos nitampata. So he was even given my number. Akanipigia. Alikuwa mimi niko Machakam. He came, alikuwa na miraa na bangi. So what happened? I just said leo tu ndachana hii veve na nivute bangi. Niko na hii feeling ni poa. I was not chaotic, there was no violence. Nilikuwa tu nasikia nimetulia. Nikaona hii hata naweza kula na niingiange jo. So the following Friday, I personally went and bought miraa. Lakini sio niko rada staki atu efi wangu ajue. Kabisa. Because she knows my journey. I said I'll be only taking it Friday. Peke yake. Miraa na bangi. Nikifika saa 5, saa 6 naenda home. So the first Friday I worked. The next Friday I worked. And remember, I'm dealing with something illegal. Marijuana. At this point, I'm also in 4th year. I've enrolled for my 4th year. I've applied for a loan so that I can pay my 4th year course. But when I get the loan, I don't pay the fees. I engage it in miraa and mugoka and marijuana. I am cross-addicting, but I don't know that I am cross-addicting. So it took me a very short period of time whereby it was now not Fridays, it was daily. Sometimes what I cannot explain is the progression of my mugoka, bangi, from Fridays to daily basis. Because wacha pia Saturday nitumie, wacha pia Sunday nitumie, nitatumia Wednesday. And you see the funny part is the 200,000 shillings that I taken for a loan, nili engage kwa hiyo. And you see also the company. You see, it's something you're doing it late in the nights. So in one or another, you even have to stay with people who are drinking. So you'll even have to buy them alcohol. The only difference is that you're not taking it, but that is the company. I was even living in a rented house. I could not pay my rent, so I had to vacate to the camp. Nilikuwa naishi kambi. Nilikuwa nalipia watu wangu fika, kwa sasa ni ngumu. My mother chipped in. And you see, even at my job level, I was working as a court officer. I even became manipulative. Na kudanganya, unaona officer amevaa uniform smart, na kudanganya na kwambia kesi nitakusaidia. You give me some tips, nimekugonga hiyo pesa. So there were also complaints. Nilikuwa na madeni kila mahali. That was also a matter of concern to the office. So I had to be redeployed back to general duties. Okay, at home, I started selling things. First, I sold my phone. Nikakuja nikauza double decker tu nilikuwa nayo. Nikakuja nikauza fridge. I even remember when I was selling this fridge, my last born alikuwa ametoka usi tuko covered alikuwa ametoka usini, alikuwa amepewa dawa, na kuna dawa moja ilikuwa refrigerated. So hata nikiuza fridge ilibidi nitoe hiyo dawa. And you see, you are selling it at throwaway prices. Even my wife alikuwa ngarada sana na simu yake, juu ningechukua na niende niuze. And you see, that is bangi na mugoka. I remember very well, hiyo cohort nilikuwa nayo ilimaliza. And nikaenda kwa graduation ya best yangu, tulikuwa naye class moja. So even my wife was like, imagine ungekuwa na graduate na class. Mimi ndo nilienda kumpiga picha. Kwa graduation yake. But okay, to some extent uko zile za I wish you well kweli, ndio, lakini deep down unajua I'm supposed to be in this class, lakini sijafanya exam. So we cannot do the exam with a balance. Unaona, unajua tu policies za kampo, things got to the worst. Sasa wife yangu sana ameona in reality what it means to be in addiction. Ni ngumu, it's not easy, eh? Juu hata ile kidogo na hustle alikuwa na busy, nilikuwa naenda naiba doa hapo, naenda nakula miraa, unaona. So I remember even my wife thought I was graduating, so he called one of my friends akamwambia, hey, graduation ili, nakwambia gangia graduate, gangia kufanya exam, you're not aware. So you see at home wanafikiri na graduate, lakini mimi najua si. You see the manipulative nature of addiction, and you're just not honest with yourself and with them. Ilifikia mali niko na, I think it's a high time I do the program again. I have to do this program again. So I raised the issue. Karezia bro yangu akakuwa wild. Unatoka majukumu. Unatoka majukumu kabisa. Ati urudi tena rehab, that is unheard of. Niko na hapo hapana. Kabonga na mother hapana. Now, I don't blame them. It is the lack of information that they don't know that relapse happens. You see, addiction ni kitu imekuja kwa familia yetu. Wame experience first hand na mimi vizuri, and they don't know ati ukitoka rehab unaweza rudi hizi vitu na tena urudiria. Yani it doesn't bring sense. You see what the thin line between people understanding addiction and people understanding irresponsibility in the society. Unajua ile ati unaambiwa achana na mtu anakunywa sana, na kuna mwingine atasema achana na huyu alikataa maisha. You get, you're just termed as irresponsible, but people don't know. Hata wengi ni roho safi sana, wengi. It's only that they cannot control their drinking. And let me tell you, addiction is taking the best brains. You see, ukienda campus, a university is a place of great minds. And let me tell you, even a rehab is a place of great minds. The people you meet there, the conversations you have, ni watu wengi wao na watu wamekuwa na dreams, wengine zimekuwa shattered wako hopeless, wengine tu wana cling on one hope, job imempea ruhusa ende rehab. But it's a place of great minds. And I had to do my program again. That's when I went to Chiromo Hospital Group, had a detox, and then went to the retreat rehab in Limuru. And that's why I got help. But you see, this is very important. For me to go to rehab, see, I've told you, nilibonga I spoke with my mother, I spoke with my brothers, they refused. So I had to have a chat with my wife. Kamonyesha, you see what you're going through. I have tried to stop, but it cannot work. The same case happened during my alcoholic days. I have only one option. I just want to do the program again. That is the only hope. Program is take duration gani? Tukwambia kuna around 1 or 2 weeks ya detox, and then rehab 3 months, 90 days. Okay, to him it was a bit long. But tunaona zile vitu amejionea. Nyumba kama hizo unapata ile kiti hezi toka. Mimi hata nakumbuka ni rehab nikimuuliza, lakini wewe ulipenda nini kwangu? Because you see, mtoto mtu umempitisha through hell. Sizo akona, oh my God. But akanisikiza akaniambia kama mazuri na musemanga wife yangu to some extent ni kama mzee wangu. She always anakuga na hope na mimi. So it took a lot of intervention from the rehab facility to do some therapies with my mother and my brothers on the phone so that they can realize that relapse happens. I don't promise that I'll not go to rehab again, personally, right? I don't promise, I don't know. But I can say at that moment, I had that thing in mind. What is it that I am going to do to help me remain sober? I don't want to do it again. This is the second time. Sitaki kuifanya tena. So what, I was committed to the program. And I knew where I went wrong. I want the best for my family. Lot time nimechoka. You get? I've been losing. I've just been losing. Kila kitu nimefanya nimekuwa nikilose. Nikakaa chini nikajiuliza. Sahi natoka rehab. I know the expectations. Huyu amerudi tena akitoka hata. But ndani kwangu I don't have that. Ndani kwangu ni no, I started thinking from a different perspective. Yenyewe nafaa kusaidia wasee mtaani, wasee wengi wanasafa. Now it became more of a turning point to me. And I started planning, how am I going to help those officers, friends who are suffering in addiction. So the first two, tukawapeleka, it was very positive. And then, nikakuwa najicommit na mpaka kuona. Let me tell you, when you come and help somebody who is in addiction, the satisfaction, asa nikwambie, hiyo ni kitu inanipanga satisfaction sana. Junajuanga, hujasaidia huyo msee peke yake. Umesaidia a whole social circle. Because I realized the moment huyo msee, awasa wilo walienda rehab. Ndiko tu napiga simu na mother yao. Yani, they can now sleep because they know this person is in a safe place. And you see, pia I had to be relocated because nilikuwa nimetoka rehab, so I had to leave Machakos. At this moment, kasema Nairobi, ndo nikakuwa transferred to Jamhuri prison. And the same happened. The same thing happened. Now my life was, ikakuwa ina revolve around addicts. And let me tell you, information spreads like fire. Unaona, umesaidia msee mmoja, msee ndo atapena contact yako. And then you realize there are a lot of families affected by addiction. But they don't know what to do. And that is the moment I became vocal. And I decided this is the life I want to live.